Hello everyone, today on the 1 Year Life Challenge we're going to talk about time management and how to effectively manage your time. Hello everyone, as discussed in the intro, we're going to talk about time management and how you can most effectively use your time over the next 12 months as you look to create the new, improved you. So as always, I'm going to start with a quote, and this quote is from my good friend Zig Ziglar, and his quote says, "Lack of direction, not time, is the problem we all have. We all have 24 hours in a day." I'll say that quote one more time. Lack of direction, not time, is the problem. Zig Ziglar. Now, the saying goes that even Beyonce only has 24 hours in a day, and it's the great leveler of all people. Your time is your number one commodity, and what you do with your time is particularly important. And today I'm going to go through about 8 tips on how to maximize your time, and I can guarantee you if you stick to this plan, you'll be able to create amazing abundance. I can tell you personally, quite often there's video bloggers and internets and YouTube celebrities that are quite amazed on the number of videos I'm able to put out. And the concept of doing 365 videos for many people is quite daunting in the industry. However, these tools are the tools I use daily in order to make sure that I can deliver the content to my audience as often as possible, as efficiently as possible, with the best possible message. So I'm going to start with, I've had a couple of emails about time management, so I'm not going to use a specific one here, but to give you an understanding, a lot of the emails have been about people falling behind, becoming frustrated. I've had quite a few emails actually really harping on about not finishing projects and not being able to finish projects regularly. So this is the reason behind this particular video, and these tips are going to address a lot of those emails and really handle that time management issue that seems to be really apparent at the moment. So I'm going to start with number 1. Step 1 in time management is you must know your purpose. Now this is incredibly important. Knowing your purpose will help you be able to prioritize and decide on what needs to be done. If you don't know your purpose, you'll end up messing about, procrastinating, putting small tasks ahead of important tasks. And your purpose is key. So before you start any sort of project, you need to understand your purpose. If you need help with purpose, day 1 video is about finding your purpose. And once you find your purpose, time management will really start to fall into line up to that. Number 2, I want to talk to you about your temporal memory. Now, there are memory geniuses around the world that can remember entire decks of cards that have been shown to them once. So scientists initially thought that some people have a memory of 52 items if you could remember an entire deck of cards. But it's now been found that most people's temporal memory is between 5 and 7 objects. So 5 and 7, not a lot, right? And there's also not a lot of difference, you know. Someone who's not great at remembering things might remember 5, and someone who's great might remember 7. So really we all have the same sort of inbuilt ability to remember. Now, what's really important about your temporal memory is once it starts getting overloaded, just like a computer, and let's say that we have a temporal memory of 5 items, it needs to make sure that we don't push our temporal memory to the point where we forget things. So I'll give you an example. If I told you to pick up the dry cleaning, feed the cat, wash the dishes, record the TV show, wash the backyard, and clean the barbecue, and then pick up your daughter from netball, all of a sudden, as I started getting to those last couple of items, I'm sure you could already feel the stress building. You're already, panicking. And generally when that happens, most people say, stop, too much. And what's happening is it's a protective mechanism. You're releasing stress hormones into your body in order to push back on how many items you can actually remember. Now this is normal. This is why people are frustrated, they're overwhelmed. They can't handle simple things because it's the end of their temporal memory and their body is fighting back and they can't control the emotions. The way to handle this is to write things down. Because if you write things down, whether it's in your smartphone or whether on a piece of paper, you take the load off the temporal memory, and the temporal memory simply has to remember, where's my smartphone or where's that piece of paper? And you can, and when you're in a good state, not a stress state, your time management is most effective. Number 3, choosing between urgent and important. This is the key defining factor in really delegating tasks. Everything in this modern world is urgent. Fair enough. You have to answer emails straight away. People expect text messages replied to straight away. You've got to answer that call. But what you really need to understand is that urgency does not override importance. If you have something important to do, it overrides urgency. Now I know that might sound simple as I say it, but how often do we stop what we're doing and answer the text message, or stop what we're doing, which you know is important, to take the phone call? It's really important that once you know what's important, you allow what's urgent to perhaps wait. I know it hurts, I know it's not something we're used to, but I can guarantee you if you focus on the important things, the urgent things stop becoming urgent because you've taken care of business in the important part. The other time management tip is understanding consequence. So we all know that we like to shuffle our papers around our desk, and before we maybe go to the gym, we try and find the right pair of shoes, and all of this is really sort of procrastination. Now the way to push through that procrastination or that shuffling around is to decide, what is the consequences of me not doing what I'm about to do? So for example, what's the consequence of me not going to the gym long term? And once you start understanding the consequences, you are driven much quicker and on a much straighter line to what you need to do. So whenever you feel yourself sort of meandering around or not getting to the point, you should ask yourself, what is the consequence of me not taking action right now to get this job done? And quite often, if the consequence is negative, all of a sudden you'll be there and you'll get it done. Because what's happening is you're playing a game. The consequences of you going to the gym, for example, are, in your brain's mind as you're procrastinating, is that it's painful, it's cold, you're tired. So all you need is a much more powerful consequence, for example, that you're unhealthy, unfit, and you don't look your best, to overpower those other consequences. The 80-20 rule. This rule you'll hear a lot about in the 1-year life transformation challenge, but 80% of your results are always driven by 20% of the things you do. And it's important to remember that. And if you're doing the little things, as we talked about, the important versus urgent things, the 80-20 rule will fall over. 20% of what you do gets 80% of your results. The rest of the 80% of things you do are generally just sort of not super important. So once you define that, you need to devote your time to those important tasks that generate 80% of your income, wealth, relationships, priorities, and really define what are those core things. Rewards. Reward yourself. One thing I do is after I've done a set amount of work, I set 45-minute blocks. I find that I'm most creative in that period. After 45 minutes, I get up and I reward myself. It could be I go for a walk, I get a long black coffee, I do something and I reward myself, and that keeps me stimulated during the day. And taking those short little breaks really refreshes you, and you start to know that as your task drags on, it's only 10-15 minutes until you can take a break and go. So it really drives you forward. Those big rewards as well, once you've completed a task and you did a lot of planning, a lot of structure on that task, structure the reward. You'll be surprised how much it motivates you day to day. That reward could be, if it's a big thing, maybe taking a holiday, or it could be as simple as going to your favorite restaurant. But those rewards sit in the back of your unconscious and really drive you forward, and then sort of placate the other things in your mind that are telling you don't have to do it or it's not important. One of the key things is just starting. Any task you just need to start. The Tao Te Ching, the wonderful book that you'll see a video about soon, says a journey of 10,000 miles starts with a single step. Another quote I heard is, if it's worth doing poorly. And what that quote means is sometimes we want to get things so perfect, we just never start because we have to get this right, and it has to have all these things in place. And the reality is that nothing started perfect, and you have to start to make it perfect. So it's incredibly important that you just start. Even if you don't feel like it, just start the smallest task. And the final tip is the tip that you've been learning during this series, is to be present. When you're present and in the moment and not allowing your mental faculties to go forward or backwards, future and past, you can devote 100% of your soul and energy to a task. Sometimes you need to use mindfulness, the other tools you've learned, in order to bring you into presence, but presence is the absolute benchmark of efficiency, because when you're present, time slows down because you're actually here. When you're thinking about the future, you can miss things and lose things and wonder where the time went, as with the past. So some of the steps you can take these steps right now. Remember, you can download my book, which will help if you want to spend some time reading and understand these concepts. We could download the video series on DVD to make sure you have it handy. But other than that, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow for your next step on your 1-year life challenge. Goodbye. Head to YouTube and subscribe. You'll get bonus content, behind the scenes footage, podcasts, audiobooks, and a copy of my book, Zen in the City, the minute you become a subscriber to my YouTube channel. So what are you waiting for? Head out there now.